Hey, thanks for having the opportunity to talk to you today. We're at the Royal Commission of Sexual Abuse and State Care. So how do you feel about how things have gone?
It's interesting being here today because watching it unfold over the internet, God bless us, versus actually being here in person is totally different.
Yeah.
And more than that, being totally different is that the emotions, obviously, that are being shared by the fellow survivors also bring up my own emotions. So,
I was going to ask you, how's all this triggering you?
Yeah. So
Now we're big guys and we're seen as big, huge, strong fellas, but you know it knocks you, eh?
Oh yeah. And the thing is that I keep telling myself I've dealt with it, and then little things that have been talked about. And the gentleman that was talking today so far has been in a totally different environment from mine, but just little similarities have.
How long did you hide it for?
50 years is since I've been in care, but 48 years. So that person that raped me, has been rent-free in my head for 48 years.
And how is it? This is the big question I've got, and maybe you can enlighten me. We've got over 250,000 plus people that have claimed they've been abused in state or faith-based care. All right, that's a lot of kids, right? And we were doing some. I heard you with the investigator doing some other numbers, which blow that number out.
Correct, because I was saying, let's say if it was 100,000 and we took 10% of it, that's 1,000 people. Do we have to interview all 100,000 people before we can start making some actual changes to the system? Can we start actually having a conversation about change? At the moment, all I'm hearing is conversation, no change.
Well, how about
you're saying 250,000, and you and I know that 10%'s light. It's been 50 years for me, and I'm still trying to deal with it. I'm still coming to terms.
Well, you hid it for a long time for yourself.
Well, I hid it from everybody. I told nobody. Well, that's a lie. I told my parents when I first came out of a Puni.
This is a Puni boys' home.
A Puni boys, and I got a hiding because they thought I was looking for attention. So I realised I wasn't going to get any support there, so it was my fault. Another incident happened to me outside of care 2 years later, where I was abused by a couple, and I got picked up by the police, but of course I'd run away from home, so I was a runaway. And when I told the sergeant in Hamilton Police Station that I'd been sexually abused, he put his arm around me to try and console me, even though I'd just been raped, and told me that boys should be grateful for such an experience, but it's not something we should talk about.
You're out the gate.
No, told me that I should be grateful for the experience.
It doesn't surprise me.
But this is in the 70s. So, but also that it's no point talking about it because actually as a runaway, nobody was going to believe me anyway. So just suck it up and get on with my life. So I did.
So the Police Regulations Act 2008 says fair and impartial. Do you think you were treated fairly and impartially?
Totally. No. I was a 12, 13-year-old kid. I had no rights.
You do?
Yeah, well, I'm finding that out now.
Yeah, that's the problem, eh? Yeah, too late. Way too late.
Yeah.
Like my kids were in an abduction in Te Aomuru, which that cop is now in the Hamilton Police Station.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So for me,
so they aided and abetted child, youth and family. There was no orders in place.
Yeah.
And they stopped me protecting my kids.
Far out. So see, I went on and I decided that I had choices. Because basically in there I was a little white boy, called Ghost or Spook. That was the thing for me. And but there were a lot of Maori boys and island boys. People don't know I'm actually Maori from the East Coast, but actually because of my colour, they're not seen that way. So a lot of the guys I know from back then have been in gangs, either the mob or the blacks. I mean, that's
where they all do.
that's where they
I was
go.
at Sedgley Boys Home, and that's where most of my guys ended up.
Yeah, and so, but I made a conscious decision to myself that I didn't really want to do. I didn't want to go that way.
Yeah.
It was a fine line thing, and don't get me wrong, I'm not squeaky clean. I've definitely got a record. I've done stuff that I'm not proud of, but I felt that I had to do that. So I looked around, and people in business seemed to be the stand-up citizens from a visual point of view for a 14, 15-year-old kid. So I went that way.
Yeah.
And so I sit here like I am today because I don't know any different.
Yeah.
I don't want to be any different than I am.
So you're a constructive guy, right? And you've seen the abuse, right? And we talk about the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that our prisons are not overflowing and full with social workers and people?
You've got to question. I mean, the thing for me you've got to really question is how they got away with it. But obviously they were in it together. It appears to me that they were looking after.
So they were complicit.
Yes.
So the whole system was complicit. Everybody knew, eh?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like Lake Alice. It's like Lake Alice. Everybody knew.
It appears that way. That the guy that abused me, I only found out later on in life. He was in Hamilton Boys, and he got shipped out of there because he got found out for abusing boys in there. My understanding is that he turned up on the Monday, and on the Friday I was in a pony, or on the Wednesday I was in a pony, and by the Friday he was abusing me in solitude, in confinement. And that went on for the whole time I was there. And
how are we going to stop this? You're a constructive guy. We've heard a lot of stories from people, and you may be one of the few that I can talk to about how we're going to fix this.
Yeah, well, change.
But the system is designed this way.
Yes, it's set up this way.
That's what I can't. That's what I figured out. We've got the social workers, they're lying, lawless pack of right,
the manipulators.
Yeah, that are covered by their immunity for prosecution under the Tamariki Act, and they've got the power. They lie. You've got the lawyer for child that's only interested in making money, and he wants to extenuate the thing as long as he can. He does. How many times does a lawyer for child actually spend with the child? Fuck all.
Oh, no, nothing. You'd be lucky if it's an hour, right?
A couple of hours, that's right. Yeah. Then he's an expert witness and gives his information to the judge. And the judge is keeping these people in children's homes within Tamariki, and they are aiding and abetting the state. And when there's another big problem, they go and call the Gestapo.
Well, if we go back to a pony, for argument's sake, and we spoke about my belief is the gangs were started there, or nurtured there anyway.
Yeah, mine too.
And so if you look at that, and now they're in prison, why are they in prison? Because actually they've created the beast. They've created it.
No, that's my view too.
And all it's doing is rolling.
Perpetuating it.
It's basically we're on the wheel, aren't we?
Yep.
And it's the big court wheel.
And like Simeon Brown and Simon Bridges and all those guys don't seem to realise that historically the gangs were created by the state.
But aren't they just spoking it? Aren't they just putting another cog in the wheel just to keep it spinning? That's actually, and I said to somebody the other day, there was a chap by the name of Ben Couch, God bless him, Māori MP from Wairarapa actually, a really nice guy. But Muldoon used to was his puppet, and Muldoon would pull him out. Whenever Muldoon was in trouble, Ben would say something stupid, and it would take the heat right off. And I think this Simons and all of that.
Simeon Brown.
Simeon Brown is just, he is that little manipulative muppet that's been pulled out to actually smoke screen it so they can move past.
He's a comic kid, He's a comic kid.
So, but what I'm finding here today, the hardest part for me, is I believe this Royal Commission was for us, the survivors, us, the abused. But I walk into this, everybody has to bow before the judge. Everybody has to stand on their feet for the judge. We have to stand when she walks in. We have to stand when she walks out. This is just another fucking court case. And this is not about us at all. It's about them showing to the world
Perception
It's a perception
that we're a lawful
to
country.
say that, yeah, and that
They're not going to fix
they're
nothing.
doing the best for us. But I don't believe that in one stretch that's going to change anything. I haven't seen anything yet that makes me feel that me putting myself out in a public place for the first time in 48, 50 years is actually going to change anything.
I'm the same as you.
And it saddens me, Steve.
Yeah, bro.
It makes me, I explained to my investigator that I was standing talking to when you were there, I'm trying to be positive. I'm trying to feel that today, like now's our time. If any change is going to happen, it's going to be now. But in my heart of hearts, sadly, the poor little hurt boy from 1971 is screaming in my head, get the fuck out of here.
Grassroots
Yeah.
are complaining, but the people at the top are not listening
No.
because they're so programmed anyway, and they don't have lived experience.
No, and I'm looking and they're complaining about the money that's all been spent. It's all in the jargon. It's all in this rigmarole here and none in the actual action, you know? Well, yeah, I don't know. I'm not convinced that we're going to come out of this well, apart from that we're all going to expose ourselves, and thanks for coming. But we were exposed back then. You know, I didn't ask that person to abuse me.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But do you think that one of the things that we've all done is we've highlighted that, you know, social welfare, child, youth and family, Oranga Tamariki are a lawless criminal outfit. And it's a ministry paid for by the taxpayers' money, and we've got to get rid of it.
The answer to your question is yes. I have a struggle with how are we going to do it. And the reason for that is because my experience in the past is that when you have a Maori-based organisation that takes these kids in, they beat the shit out of the Maori kids because they're embarrassing them as Maoris. I've seen islanders that have been involved beat their kids because you're embarrassing our island nation. So I think in some regards, that side of it is that the risk of that is we already have children that are dying and being beaten from Maori families, and they're hiding it.
Why didn't successive governments prior to this, with all the reports
and the knowledge,
fix it?
Yes.
It's the ministers and the bureaucrats at the top. They need to get the sack.
But they're really good at chucking, and I think God bless Labor, and I thank them for doing what they've done to get us this far.
Yeah.
So I give them credit for that. But I think that they would chuck a bit of money at it, that a couple of hundred people would turn up and they'd go, oh, well, we've done our best and thanks for coming.
Right, we're business people at heart, you and me. You know you've got work to do.
Yeah, right.
You've got to fix it.
You've got to fix it.
You've got to plan.
Yeah, but see, it's blown out of proportion now, and they're now trying to say, oh, maybe we've done too much. Let's try and fix it quickly. Well, there is no quick fix.
There's no quick fix.
So I see this as a little bit like you've got the Treaty of Waitangi settlements that are all going on. Mm. In some regards, this is the same thing. This is exactly the same thing. It's come about. They have to treat it the same way. They have to deal with it the same way. And I'm not saying chuck money at it, but they have to do stuff. I mean, all my medical bills and stuff, I've been fortunate to be able to pay for. But there are a lot of people out there that are struggling, and they need to be taken care of.
Yeah.
You know?
I see so many cases going through Oranga Tamariki that are just low-hanging fruit, that they don't have the finances or the wherewithal.
The little bit of knowledge or the strength to actually fight it.
Where you and I...
And they're plucking them and they're actually destroying those families.
Rather than giving them a helping hand up, they're just banging another nail.
They're burying them, actually.
Yeah, that's exactly what I see.
Yeah, so...
So do you think that maybe if we restructured it with regards making it should have been part of Ministry of Social Development actually, and that child protection should have actually been police?
Yes.
Oh, that's my personal opinion.
And I think you're right. But this OT being able to ring up and have the police back them up while they go and take a child out of is actually wrong.
We now know that Oranga Tamariki, under the Ombudsman report, OT broke domestic and international laws. And I can tell you, Section 78s and 45s, mate, which is the safety warrants, most of them are lawless. But the people who have been rubber stamping those have been the judges. And the judges know that the terrible behaviour that's been going on with an Oranga Tamariki, and they've been still rubber stamping Oranga Tamariki.
But it's the cycle, isn't it?
It's making money.
It's the cycle. And that's you get caught, they roll it over, they remain.
Why haven't some of these judges stood up and said, enough's enough, the cycle's got to stop?
Where is the accountability if it can't be at the level?
Correct. I'm of exactly the same view as you.
So, yeah. Because you and I on our own pushing a wheelbarrow can't make the change.
Yeah. That's why we formed with all the other groups as a group called United,
Yes.
which, even we don't mind what badge you've got.
Yeah.
Even if you've got a patch on your back,
Yes.
as long as you're united to protect the children, then you're in.
Well, those boys with their tattoos all over their face and that are just hurt kids from a Puni boys home. And
I think it's actually true.
And
Yep.
all the other
Sedgley boys.
Yeah, all the other boys' homes around the country, and they're just hurt boys.
Hoddeville.
And that patch is the only family that they feel that they're safe in.
Yeah. I know.
So it doesn't matter; they've got to be safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Hey, I really appreciate your time today. We've got to come up with a solution. We don't want to go through all of this.
But it's not something that we can just flippantly do
No.
overnight.
No.
But you can't have all these academics and professional people sitting in a room making decisions.
It needs grassroots people.
It needs people like us that have been there saying, actually, you haven't thought about this. I don't have the answer, but I'm pretty confident that I can get past some of the solutions that they've been using so far.
Yeah.
Because they're failing.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
cheers, Steve. Done.